Here's how I photographed Orlando Bloom using Katy Perry's rope lights. I headed up to Los Angeles to meet up with Josh Serlin of Black Bear Brand, where he was hand delivering some new clothing to Orlando. My job was to photograph both of them talk and shop on their motorcycles and get some portraits of Orlando wearing some of the clothing. I didn't bring any strobes, I just brought my Canon R5 at the time. This was ultimately due to keeping with the aesthetic of Black Bear Brand, which is just being in the moment, in the environment, real, raw, natural light. With that, I was being very mindful of the light that we had available to us, which this was starting to get later in the day, so I politely urged everyone to get on the road so that we could get some of the light before we lose it. So Josh and Orlando jumped on their motorcycles and we rode up and down Mulholland Drive getting some shots where I barely had enough light, but we got some really cool shots of them on the street, on the side of the road, candidly, talking shop, overlooking the valley. By the end of this portion of the shoot, it was pretty much nighttime and I had a really hard time struggling trying to get focus. So we headed back down the hill where we ended up in Katy Perry's driveway, and the only light I had available to me were some rope lights that were wrapped around a tree. This is all I had to work with, and this was the time where I had to get some portraits of Orlando wearing some of this clothing. So I asked Orlando to trust me. We headed over to the tree and I had him get as close as possible to them so I could try to get enough light on him and not run the ISO up too high. And I was also dealing with weird color shifts from those lights, as well as banding from the frequency of the flickering lights and my shutter speed. I had to time each shot so that the black band wouldn't land on Orlando's face. Quite a few things going against me, but at the end of all this, we ended up getting the shots we need. I ended up converting everything to black and white just because the colors were so varied between the shots on Mulholland Drive with the natural light and then these rope lights, and the ISO noise ended up kind of working in my favor, which acted like film grain. And it just kind of overall gave everything a little bit more of a nostalgic look, given that I was working with a Hollywood actor, we were shooting in Beverly Hills on Mulholland Drive. It just kind of all created a nice cohesive look instead of trying to force the color variances between the two different locations that we shot at with the different light. So all in all, everything worked out. It was not the way I envisioned it going, but I was able to think on my feet and get the shots we needed to, and it was definitely a memorable photo shoot.